Lagos has always been a city that never sleeps, full of noise, light, and endless hustle. In the middle of it all, there were two sisters who felt like each other's safe place. I'm Aisha, the older one, and for as long as I can remember, my younger sister Kemi was my shadow. Wherever I went, she followed. When we were little, she would squeeze her hand into mine whenever the crowded markets got too overwhelming, and even as we grew older, that bond felt unshakable. People often said we were more like best friends than sisters. We shared secrets in the dark, borrowed each other's clothes without asking, and laughed at jokes only we understood. I trusted her in a way I didn't trust anyone else. If Kemi said something, I believed it. If she needed help, I gave it. To me, loyalty to her wasn't a choice. It was natural. But life in Lagos was never easy. Our parents worked hard, but still struggled to keep the family afloat. Money always seemed to run out before the month ended. When I got my first job, it wasn't just my win. It was for all of us. I paid rent, bought food, and made sure Kemi never lacked the little things that mattered to her. I was proud to step in where our parents couldn't. Supporting my family felt like love in action, and I did it with an open heart, never imagining that trust could ever be broken from within. It started with something small, the kind of thing you could easily brush off. I was checking my bank statement one evening after work, just to make sure I was keeping track of everything. That's when I saw it, a charge for an expensive handbag from a luxury store on the island. I laughed at first because I thought it was some kind of mistake. Me? Buying a bag worth more than my rent? Impossible. I told myself it must have been a mix-up with the bank. But the next week, another charge appeared. This time it was for designer shoes, the kind I'd only ever admired through glass windows. My heart started beating faster as I scrolled through the transactions. One after another, charges appeared: perfumes, jewelry, clothes. Things I had never even touched, let alone bought. The total was climbing into the thousands, and my chest felt heavy. I remember calling Kemi into the room, holding my phone in my hand, my voice shaky. "Look at this. Somebody is using my card," I said. She gasped loudly, her eyes widening in shock, and then she sat beside me, almost hugging me like she always did when I was upset. "Ah, Aisha, that's terrible. Who would do such a thing?" she said, scrolling with me as if she were just as confused. Her voice sounded so sincere that for a moment, I believed her. She even suggested we call the bank together, and she helped me draft a message to customer service like she truly cared. But something in my gut felt strange. Kemi was acting a little too calm, almost like she wasn't surprised enough. Still, I pushed that thought away because this was my sister, the person I trusted most. I didn't want to doubt her. She even joined me in searching through old receipts and asking if maybe I had forgotten making the purchases. At one point, she laughed and teased me. "Maybe you bought it sleepwalking, who knows?" And we both chuckled, though my laugh was weak. The charges didn't stop. Every few days, something new appeared. A necklace, a dress, a dinner at a fancy restaurant I had never stepped foot in. I felt helpless watching my hard-earned money slip away. I stayed up late at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering who could be targeting me. I thought about hackers, scammers, even random strangers stealing card details online. Kemi sat with me many evenings, acting like my partner in this mystery, comforting me when I sighed too heavily. Yet deep down, the first seed of suspicion had been planted. Something about the timing, something about how she always seemed one step ahead with explanations. It nagged at me. I didn't want to admit it, not even to myself, but a quiet whisper had started inside me. What if the thief is closer than you think? The day the truth came out is still sharp in my memory, like a wound that refuses to close. I had gone to the bank determined to get answers. Weeks of sleepless nights and endless charges piling up had pushed me to my limit. I sat across from the customer service officer, my hands shaking as I slid my ID across the desk. He typed on his computer, clicking through records, and then turned the screen toward me. What I saw made my stomach twist. There were the transactions, all of them linked to my card. But this time, there was no mystery. The addresses for delivery, the signature on the receipts, even the account used for refund, it was all connected to one person. My own sister, Kemi. I froze. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I stared at the screen, hoping my eyes were playing tricks on me. But the proof was too clear to deny. The bank officer explained softly, almost cautiously, "Madam, I'm afraid this is internal. The person using your card is someone with access to your details." He didn't know he had just broken my heart in a way money never could. $17,000. That was the total. Every cent I had saved, every sacrifice I had made gone. I thought about all the extra hours I had worked, the nights I skipped meals to make sure there was enough for the family, the times I told myself it would all be worth it. And Kemi, my own blood, had been the one draining me dry while sitting right beside me, pretending to comfort me. I left the bank in a daze. The Lagos sun felt harsher that day, the streets noisier, people's laughter sounding almost cruel. My chest ached as I walked back home, every step heavy with disbelief. I kept seeing her face in my mind, the way she had acted so innocent, her fake concern, her gentle hugs. How could she betray me like this? How could she look me in the eye while stealing from me? That night, I sat alone in my room and cried. It wasn't just about the money. It was about trust, about family, about the bond one thought could never break. She hadn't only stolen from my account, she had stolen from my heart. But as the tears dried, something else began to form inside me. Anger, determination, a quiet voice whispering that I could not let her walk away with this. I could not let my pain be wasted. I wanted justice, but more than that, I wanted her to feel the weight of what she had done. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I decided to stay quiet, to watch her, to plan. If Kemi thought she had fooled me, she was wrong. The same blind trust she had taken advantage of would become the mask I used to set the stage for her downfall. The game had just begun. I knew if I confronted Kemi too soon, she would deny everything, maybe even turn the story against me. She was clever like that, so I decided to play a role. Around her, I acted broken. I let my shoulders slump, spoke in a weak voice, and sighed like someone too tired to keep fighting. When she asked me if the bank had found anything, I shook my head and whispered, "Nothing yet. Maybe the money is gone forever." She would hug me and say, "Don't worry, Aisha, you'll be fine," while I bit my tongue to stop myself from exploding. But behind the scenes, I wasn't weak at all. I met quietly with a lawyer who specialized in financial fraud, and together we built a plan. The bank agreed to help track every new charge made with my account. Each time Kemi used my card, the evidence grew stronger. We had receipts, delivery addresses, even recordings of calls she made to confirm orders. Piece by piece, the puzzle was complete, but I didn't want her just exposed. I wanted her cornered, with no escape. That's when the idea of the business opportunity came to me. I knew Kemi's weakness wasn't just luxury items, it was greed. She always dreamed of living big, of being seen as more successful than everyone else. I told her I had met someone at work who was looking for partners to invest in a new import business, something glamorous, promising huge profits. I made my voice shaky, like I wasn't sure if I should trust it, and I told her I was too exhausted to handle it myself. Her eyes lit up immediately. "Are you serious? That kind of opportunity doesn't come twice, Aisha. If you don't want it, maybe I can step in." She said it almost too quickly, like she had been waiting for a door to open. I pretended to hesitate, even biting my lip for effect, before finally saying, "Maybe, but it's a lot of paperwork. I don't have the strength." I could see the hunger in her eyes. With my lawyer's help, we created fake investment documents, legit-looking contracts, signatures, seals, everything. The plan was simple. Get her to sign, thinking she was about to become rich, when in reality she was tying herself to her own downfall. In the evenings, I continued acting fragile, complaining about how the whole ordeal had drained me. Kemi would sit there, nodding sympathetically, all while hiding the smug little smile she thought I didn't notice. She believed she was winning. She thought her sister was too weak, too naive to ever fight back. What she didn't know was that every step she took was walking straight into the net I had woven. And the best part, she would believe it was all her idea. Kemi walked straight into the trap with a smile on her face. The day I handed her the documents, she barely skimmed through them. My lawyer had prepared everything to look professional. Stamps, seals, neat signatures already in place. I pretended to be too weak to understand it all, sighing as I slid the folder across the table. "If you think it's good, maybe you can take over," I said softly, lowering my eyes like I was surrendering. She grabbed the papers eagerly, her excitement impossible to hide. "Don't worry, Aisha, I'll handle it," she said, her voice full of confidence. She signed page after page quickly, almost carelessly, as if the faster she signed, the faster she would get her hands on money. I sat there watching, my face calm, but inside my heart was pounding. This was it, the moment she tied her own noose. Over the next few days, Kemi's attitude changed. She started acting like she was the boss of something big. She came home with new clothes, smiling too wide, humming songs while scrolling on her phone. I overheard her talking to a friend one evening, her voice loud and proud. "My sister doesn't even know what she's doing. She gave me a golden chance on a platter. Imagine, she works so hard and still thinks small. Me? I'm about to be rich." Her words cut deep, but they also fueled me. She had no clue she wasn't stepping into wealth. She was stepping into ruin. She bragged about her smartness, telling people how she had guided me like a child. "Aisha is too trusting," she laughed. "She doesn't understand the world. That's why I'll always be ahead." Her arrogance spread like perfume in the air, sweet to her, sickening to me. Every time she spoke, I forced myself to stay calm, nodding along as if I agreed. She thought she had outsmarted me, that she had played her weak sister like a violin. What she didn't see was that she was the one being played, each step leading her closer to the moment when her lies would collapse. One evening, she even walked into my room, tossing her hair with pride. "You'll thank me later, Aisha. Soon, I'll be the one taking care of you. I'll show you how real money is made." I smiled faintly, hiding the fire inside me. If only she knew the real money she was chasing was already slipping through her fingers. The trap was sealed. She had signed everything with her own hand, bragged loudly to friends, and built her castle of pride on sand. All I had to do now was wait for the right moment. And when it came, her fall would be public, undeniable, and unforgettable. Kemi believed she had won, but the truth was, the game hadn't even begun. The day of the family gathering arrived, and I knew it was time. Our relatives had come together at my parents' house for a small celebration. The living room was full of laughter, the smell of food drifting in from the kitchen, children running around, and uncles debating politics as usual. Kemi was glowing that day, dressed in a new outfit, smiling like she had no worries in the world. She looked at me across the room and gave a smug little smile, as if to remind me that she was still winning. I waited until everyone had settled after eating. The chatter grew softer, and that was when I stood up. My voice was calm, steady. "There's something important I need to share with the family," I said. At once, the room went quiet. All eyes turned to me. Kemi shifted in her seat, her smile fading just a little. I pulled out a folder I had brought with me. Inside were screenshots of the transactions from my bank app, official letters from the bank confirming the fraud, and copies of the documents Kemi had signed for the fake business deal. I laid them out slowly on the center table, letting everyone see. Murmurs began to rise as my uncles leaned closer, my mother's hand flying to her mouth in shock. "This," I said, pointing to the first papers, "is how $17,000 disappeared from my account. And this," I flipped the next sheet, "shows exactly who was responsible." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I wanted my calmness to be louder than any anger could ever be. Kemi's face turned pale. "Aisha, stop. This is not true," she cried, standing quickly, her hands trembling. But the evidence was there in black and white. I held up a page with her signature clear as day. "These are the papers you signed, Kemi. You thought it was a business deal, but it was just proof of your greed. You didn't only steal my money. You lied to my face while pretending to help me." The room exploded with voices. Aunties shouted in disbelief, cousins stared wide-eyed, and my father's face hardened like stone. My mother began to cry quietly. Everyone looked at Kemi as though they no longer recognized her. She dropped to her knees, clutching her dress. "Please forgive me. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I was desperate. I was jealous. Please, Aisha, don't do this to me here." But it was too late. The mask had been ripped away in front of everyone who mattered. For years, she had been the charming younger sister, the one everyone adored. Now they saw the truth, the betrayal, the lies, the theft. I didn't shout. I didn't even look at her as she begged. I just gathered the papers back into the folder, sat down, and let the silence of the family's judgment fall on her shoulders. That silence was heavier than any words I could have spoken. After the family gathering, the house was never the same. Everyone looked at Kemi differently, and the weight of her shame followed her like a shadow. But the real blow hadn't landed yet. That came when the bank and my lawyer stepped in to enforce the very papers she had signed with her own hand. A week later, Kemi received the first letter. It was formal, stamped, and impossible to ignore. The business agreement she thought would make her rich was actually a legal document binding her to repay the $17,000 she had stolen. She had signed every page herself, without hesitation, her own signature clear as daylight. Now there was no way to wriggle out. The lawyer explained to her that by signing, she had accepted responsibility, and the bank was within its rights to recover every cent. Kemi's face that day was a mixture of confusion and horror. She shouted, cried, begged, but the law was colder than family emotions. They froze her account, seized her savings, and started the process of liquidating her assets. The little car she had been showing off to friends? Gone. The fancy gadgets and designer items she had bought with my money? Taken back or counted toward repayment. It was as if her entire lifestyle crumbled overnight. I didn't have to lift a finger. The trap had been designed so well that the law carried out the punishment. I would sit quietly in the living room, listening as she argued on the phone, pleading with the bank officer, her voice breaking into tears. "Please give me more time. I can pay, I swear." But the system didn't care about promises. It cared about the evidence, and the evidence was airtight. When she finally realized there was no escape, she came to me, her eyes swollen from crying. "Aisha, please help me. Talk to the lawyer. Tell the bank to stop. I'm your sister." Her voice cracked, and for a brief moment, I saw the little girl who used to hold my hand in crowded Lagos Street. But then I remembered the lies, the fake sympathy, the way she had looked at me while secretly draining my account. My heart hardened again. "Kemi," I said quietly, "I didn't destroy you. You destroyed yourself. You wrote your own signature on those papers. You built this cage with your own hands. She collapsed onto the floor, sobbing, realizing that her greed had not only cost her money, but also her dignity. The final blow came when the bank confirmed she had nothing left. No savings, no assets, nothing she could claim as her own. The girl who once boasted about being smarter than me was now empty-handed, broken, and trapped by her own choices. Watching her crumble wasn't sweet revenge. It was justice. And justice, though painful, was necessary. The night of our confrontation was heavy, the kind of night where silence feels louder than any noise. Kemi had been avoiding me for days, ashamed, hiding in her room most of the time. But finally, she knocked on my door. Her eyes were swollen, her voice small. "Aisha, can we talk?" I let her in, and she sat on the edge of my bed, wringing her hands like a child caught in trouble. For a long time, she didn't speak. Then the tears started. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her body shaking. "Please, I didn't mean to hurt you like this." I stared at her, the pain still fresh in my chest. My voice came out calm but firm. "You didn't just steal my money, Kemi. You tried to steal my trust, my dignity. Do you know what that means? You sat with me, pretended to comfort me, while you were the one stabbing me in the back." She broke down completely then, sobbing into her hand. "I was jealous," she admitted. "You've always been the strong one, the responsible one. Everyone praises you." I felt invisible. I wanted to show that I could also have something, that I could be bigger than you. But I was greedy. I didn't think it would get this far. Her words cut me in a different way. Jealousy? Envy? From my own sister? It was like discovering a wound I didn't know existed. I shook my head slowly. "You could have come to me, Kemi. If you needed help, I would have given it. I carried this family for years without complaint. But you didn't ask, you stole. And the worst part, you lied every single day, looking me in the eyes as if I was a fool." She reached for my hand, but I pulled it back. "Please, Aisha. I've lost everything already. Don't turn your back on me too." I felt my throat tighten, but I stayed firm. "You think losing money or things is the worst. No. What you lost is my trust. And that is harder to earn back than any amount of money. Betrayal doesn't wash away with tears." The room went quiet except for her sobs. I wanted to hug her, to comfort her like the sister I once adored, but I couldn't. The wound was too deep, the scar still too raw. Trust isn't something you rebuild in a single night, not after it's been crushed under lies and Finally, I stood up, signaling the conversation was over. "You'll have to live with what you did, Kemi. Maybe one day forgiveness will come. But not today. Not so easily." She cried harder as I walked away, and though my own eyes burned with tears, I knew I had to stay strong. Some betrayals change you forever, and this was one of them. When the bank finally returned the recovered money to me, I held the statement in my hands and felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. Relief because the money I had worked so hard for was not gone forever. Sadness because the person who stole it was not a stranger but my own sister. I knew I couldn't just go back to life as it was. That pain had to mean something. For days, I thought about what to do. I could have used the money to travel, buy a car, or even move into a nicer apartment. But every time I closed my eyes, I remembered the helplessness I had felt when I first saw those false charges, the way betrayal made me feel small and powerless. I knew other women had gone through the same thing, maybe from partners, friends, or even family, people they trusted. And many didn't know how to protect themselves. That's when the idea came to me. I would turn my pain into purpose. With the help of my lawyer and a few supportive friends, I started a small foundation aimed at helping young women learn about financial safety, independence, and how to spot the signs of exploitation. We held workshops in community halls, talked about budgeting, saving, and the dangers of blind trust with money. I even shared my own story. Not all the details, but enough for people to understand that betrayal can come from the people closest to you. At first, I was nervous. I didn't know how the community would see me. But instead of judgment, I was met with admiration. Mothers brought their daughters to listen, young women asked questions eagerly, and many thanked me for being brave enough to speak out. "You've turned your pain into something powerful," one woman told me, holding my hands tightly. The foundation grew slowly but steadily. Soon, we were partnering with small businesses and local leaders to spread the message wider. Each time I stood before a group of women, I felt stronger. I was no longer the broken sister crying over betrayal. I was a voice, a guide, and a reminder that no wound has to be wasted. People in the community began to see me not just as Aisha, the sister who was betrayed, but as Aisha, the woman who refused to stay down. They praised my courage, my wisdom, and my determination to turn a personal tragedy into a movement for others. Their encouragement healed parts of me that money never could. And in quiet moments, when I thought about Kemi, I realized something. Betrayal doesn't have to end you. It can shape you, sharpen you, even push you into a version of yourself you never imagined. My scars became my strength, and my foundation was proof that from the ashes of broken trust, something powerful could rise. Betrayal had planted the seed, but empowerment was the fruit. In the end, what hurt me most was not the money I lost, but the trust that was shattered. I had always believed that blood was enough, that family ties could never break. But I learned the hard way that family is not about who shares your blood, it's about who protects your trust. Trust is the true bond, the invisible thread that keeps love alive. Once it is broken, nothing is ever the same. Kemi thought she was smart, but greed blinded her. She wanted to rise higher by pulling me down, forgetting that betrayal always carries a price. And she paid it, losing her money, her respect, and the image she once had in the family. I did not need to lift a hand against her. Her own choices brought her down. As for me, I stood taller than before. The pain shaped me, but it did not destroy me. Instead, it gave me a new strength, a sharper wisdom. I used the very money she tried to steal to create something bigger than both of us. A foundation that now helps others protect themselves from the same kind of hurt. What was meant to break me became the fuel for my triumph. Now, when I walk through the streets of Lagos, I no longer carry the weight of shame or anger. I carry a lesson. Not everyone who calls you sister, friend, or family deserves your blind trust. Love is proven by actions, not just words or blood. Kemi lives with the shadow of her choices, and I live with the strength of mine. And as I stand firm, I know this truth deeply. Family is not just who you are born with, it's who chooses to stand by you with honesty, loyalty, and trust.